Today's episode is brought to you by 9centprinting.com. With over 100 five-star reviews, 9centprinting.com is ready to meet all your printing needs. Are you a church plant or small church with no copy machine? No problem. 9cent Printing has you covered. If you need bulletins, flyers, books, cards, offering envelopes, posters, they do it all. I know the Christian owners of this business personally, and I'm not just a fan, I'm also a customer. Fast, nationwide shipping, affordable, professional, wow printing at wow prices. Check them out at 9centprinting.com. All right, here we go. Welcome to the Small Town Pastor Podcast. This podcast is a ministry of Small Town Network. We exist to make disciples, train pastors, and plant churches in smaller communities. My name is Eric Nielsen. I'm joined again by my co-host Tony Colomb and Jim Frech. We're going to be doing part 2 today, talking about ministry in small towns in Kansas. So we left off with kind of a teaser about you being a pastor in Galesburg, Kansas. Tell us how you ended up there. What led you to Galesburg, Kansas?
Again, I didn't want to go there. If you missed the last time, it's like I'm the reluctant prophet guy. Anywhere I've gone, I didn't necessarily want to go there initially.
Sure.
And so the road to Galesburg, in a very short nutshell, was basically I had done youth ministry in Ohio and Indiana for collectively about 10 years. And I was honestly burned out on that and I'd stepped out of ministry. I was out of vocational ministry and had taken a job in an Indiana town at a factory, and for the better part of a year just was soul searching. All of my in-laws, Rhoda's family live around the Joplin, Missouri area.
Wow.
And so her folks were there. Her dad was living at the time, and the job at the factory was pretty miserable. We weren't making a whole lot of money. We had 3 kids that were just really, we were struggling. And at one point, a flash of wisdom, my wife says, we can be just as miserable in my parents' attic as we are here. And I said, point taken. And we can probably afford their rent better than I can afford this too. So we made plans to move to Carthage, Missouri, to be with her parents, to live with them and start over. I was really searching for a ministry. I had said yes to the idea that I could apply for and do preaching. And that's one thing that Rhoda would tell you too. She loved to hear me, preach and communicate to kids. And when I got a chance to preach in our churches where I was youth minister, I really did resonate. And I liked doing that. I was scared to death of the lead role. And so I was trying to apply for churches in Southeast Kansas and even, Northeast Oklahoma and the Missouri side of things. And I applied. I applied to this little place called Galesburg Christian Church. And my father-in-law, who'd been in ministry for years, so I married a preacher's kid, by the way. And he said, "Oh, Galesburg, I know about that, and yeah, that would be a good one for you to go to apply to." Turns out he thought I was talking about a different town.
Oh.
He never heard of Galesburg, and nobody else had either. And so every one of those other resumes was a closed door. We were on our way to moving into my in-laws' house, and we're searching out places to minister, possibility of living there in Carthage, and I just called some of my resumes that I sent out, following up. I called one, and they said, "Oh, you don't want to come here. we just going through a church split. Like, okay,
Wow.
not going to go there. And
Wow.
and it was a Wednesday, and I called Galesburg up, and this guy answered the phone, and I said, my name's Jim. I'm following up on a resume I sent you guys, and he goes, well, I hadn't gotten the mail for a couple of weeks, but we're having a youth group tonight. You want to come over and talk? I know, right? And I said, so you haven't gotten my resume? No, we go to the post office box about every week around here, and we haven't gotten your resume. And I'm like, well, I sent it like, I don't know, 2 or 3 weeks ago. Well, I don't know. Just come on over and we'll talk.
Wow.
We spent the hour plus drive, hour and 20 minutes drive. And it was I pulled off the county road because this is one of those towns that's via county road.
Yeah.
You can't get there from here. You got to go down the county road. And I pulled into town, and it's a gravel road.
Mm.
I know I'm in a small place,
Mm-hmm.
but we get up to the church, and we're just praying like, I don't even know, where did we show up? What is this place?
Yeah.
And we walk in to their sanctuary, and there are 40 people sitting there. This is not an interview with the elders. This is not a search committee. This is a congregational meeting, a family meeting.
Wow.
And they had just got done with this group. We're all there. The kids were sitting in there. And all the men and women, moms and dads, older people. And we just stood. I mean, they were sitting in the pews, and we had a conversation, back and forth, Q&A, and talking about small church, how small church operates. We had a wake-up call, but it was to such a degree that when we got done with that conversation with that church family, after an hour and a half, as we were walking out to our car to go back to my in-laws' house, one of the men followed us out to the car. He's holding his 3-year-old, and he goes, I really hope that we didn't scare you. I really hope that you guys come. I really think it'd be good. And we drove away knowing this is it. This is home.
Wow.
And they accepted us. We moved in and started. And that was November of 2005.
So just to like recap, town of
Yeah.
120, the roads in town are gravel. You think you're showing up to youth group, and you show up and it's basically a live interview, like an impromptu ambush interview with 40 people.
40
Yeah.
people, though. I mean, that's wild to think. You're like, we're applying for a church in a town of 125 and 40 people are there. That's incredible.
It was the average. I mean, it wasn't the average attendance of the church, but it was the core. And small church, a lot of family, right? A lot of extended family. One of the questions I asked one of the guys off to the side was, how many families do you think this church has? And he goes, about 5. And I'm like, 5? What are you talking about? Like, and so he started naming off last names. I said, oh, you're talking about clans, extended family. Yeah. That's when he heard the question. I was asking about households, how many households. He heard it as these are extended families, and they're all kind of marrying this and that, and then very connected. If you can't talk about somebody in this church, because if you're talking about somebody in this church, they're related to them or they've lived next to them.
Yeah.
And you don't do that. You don't do that here.
For sure. Hey, let's take a time out real quick. Jim, your internet's breaking up on us. Are you seeing that too, Tony, or is it just me?
Yeah.
You're like real glitchy.
The video
cutting out. Would you mind just logging
sorry.
real quick and jumping back on? Maybe it'll refresh and I'll just edit it out at the end.
Sorry about that.
No worries.
Oh, fine.
Yeah, I was going like, see? Like, is that me? Is it my computer?
Lagging.
Yeah.
I sometimes get that problem. I'm like in the front room because here with Rosie. So
Yeah. Yeah, I noticed you're not in your regular spot.
no childcare today. Our normal support workers doing hood to coast.
Oh, wow. I've done that before one time. That was enough.
I've never done the hood to coast, but I did Ragnar relay twice, and one time was with an ultra team, and that's 6 instead of 12.
That sounds horrible.
I did 29 miles, dude.
That's horrible. I did a half marathon one time and I quit running the next day.
That was my first leg of Ragnar, was 13.2 miles. That was stupid. I have a Mortensen aroma now as a result of it.
Yeah, it sounds dumb. All right, Jim's back. That looks
Yeah.
like it's good. Okay, so
I hope so.
let's go. Let's kind of remember where you're at. So we were
The
talking
clan thing.
the clan thing, yeah. So with that whole like families and clans, so you're obviously stayed for like how long did you say 14 years?
14 years.
So
Wow.
what's it like ministering in such a small community like that? Give us some like the an idea, like paint the picture of what the day-to-day life is like in a town that small. I'm guessing you lived in town or close to town.
Yeah, the church had a parsonage that was just a
Oh,
half a block away, and so really, when you're walking around town, you we pretty much knew everybody who lived in every house.
oh yeah.
Now, they didn't necessarily all attend our church, but there was that personal connection where you did walk to the post office to get your mail because they didn't have house-to-house delivery. There was the gas station with the girls behind the counter that, stocked the biscuits and gravy, or when you got your Dr. Pepper for the day. So every place like that, and there weren't very many, we just knew their names.
Right.
And you have to, in order to, I guess, that's just the culture. People know each other, even if they don't like each other. So what was modeled for us from that church was that they included us in their families. We were brought in. So at that point, we've got 3 kids, and within 4 months of being there, surprise, surprise, Rhoda's pregnant, and we're like, "Hey, hang on, I'm 36 years old or whatever, and I don't know about this," but it was a surprise and a joy, and that's why Joy's her middle name. And so that in that first year, all of a sudden, wow, Rhoda's pregnant, we can celebrate and love them, and it was just like, hey, come on over for the Super Bowl party. Hey, come out here to, let's just, kids can play in the creek or whatever it was. Do you fish? Or, I'm like, I don't know how to fish and I don't know how to hunt, and but it didn't matter. They just brought us in. So that was a blessing that not everybody has in a small town, because sometimes small towns are just hard to get into. They want to wait on you to see if you can be trusted. We didn't have any of that.
So did you have all four of your kids in that town?
So only our youngest was born there.
Okay.
When we came, we had an 11-year-old, a 3-year-old, and an 18-month-old.
Wow.
And kids break the ice, man. Kids break the ice, and it's a wonderful thing to just pass off your 18-month-old to this lady who's like, oh yeah, I'll take care of her in the Sunday school class or in the nursery. And all of a sudden, through the years, that's grandma.
Yeah.
Because my parents live 800 miles away, and Rhoda's parents aren't that far, but they're not in town. And so my children have family, and they call her Grandma Patsy. They had several different older ladies, and I'm seeing my experience mirrored in my kids.
Awesome.
That's super interesting. Awesome. Real quick. So first of all, you grew the town by 6% or 5%, which is by
He busted out the little calculator there to do the math, dude. Yeah, I know you had to use the calculator. We all went to Ozark. You couldn't do the math in your head.
Fingers and toes.
Here's what's really interesting to me is that sometimes like when you get into church growth circles, they'll talk about like being a family style church is the enemy of growth because people get so ingrown and so
Mm,
close that there's no room for outsiders and they kind of fall in love with each other
yeah.
and lose their eye for the person down the street. But
Mhm.
what you're describing, I think, counters that and at least in this context, like that sounds like a very important and like positive aspect of life in this very small community. I mean,
Mhm.
I would venture to say most people that are going to listen to this have never been to a town that small and are probably going to have trouble getting their heads around what it's even like to live in a place like that. Like
Yeah.
you literally, your town is the size of probably the average church, the average church in America, like 100 so people, and that's the size of your town.
Hmm.
So absolutely fascinating to think about what life like that is like. So very family oriented. Your kids kind of get adopted by everybody and become kind of
Hmm.
extended family. What about the ministry part of that? Is it, is like the church growing all these years? Are you reaching new people? Are you drawing from like a larger like
Yes.
print to explain some of the ins and outs of the ministry aspect of that?
When you're a bigger fish in a smaller pond,
Mm.
you do tend to pull people from the region. Now I say region, like maybe 10, 15 miles radius.
Sure.
So within Galesburg's radius, there was the county seat, which was Erie, and that's only got 1,200 people in it. But a lot of our people came from there.
Okay.
Um, and there's other little towns, but if you go further, you got a town of 25,000, you got a town of 8,000 within a half an hour. So a lot of people live out in the country,
Hmm.
and so what I want to, I guess, clear up is that I wonder if the way that they brought us in as family was a bit of an anomaly. They loved us and brought us in as family. It wasn't as easy for other people to come in. In
Oh,
fact,
interesting.
one of the leaders, who became just one of my best friends, basically told me, "Why do I need friends? I've got my brothers."
Mm.
That was an aha moment for me,
Yeah.
and it was his dad who lived across the street from us. Who, when we So I got our elders and deacons together and some men, and we did a retreat. I don't know, 3 or 4 years into my ministry there, and I'm talking about growth. I'm talking about this hard place that people are in a small town, a small church, trying to um, get into those circles, and the importance of the Great Commission, and we didn't have discipleship language at that point, but just being a friendly church. And I remember this guy saying at one of our breaks, he he just said, "Well, boys, I guess we're going to have to make friends."
That's hilarious.
Okay, so this was a revelation to him
Yeah.
that we need to reach out beyond
Mm.
our clans in
Yeah.
order to grow this church, and it did. That church went from, I don't know if we were at 70 people when we got there, um, and through the years, just one remodel after another. We did two major overhauls in the sanctuary, the foyer, the worship center, the stage, the all the nuts and bolts of gathering together, making more room, adding chairs, taking out the pews with the orange upholstery and putting in chairs, and making an attitude of the people that aren't here are important, and they matter to God. And so, of a town of 120, we in 10 years probably had an average attendance of 160.
Wow.
Wow.
That's
Um,
Wow.
fantastic. You're bigger, your church is bigger than your town.
to the
Take that saddle back.
to the point where, I mean, we had to expand our parking lot,
Oh, wow. Incredible.
and bring on other staff with. So it was a learning curve, and it wasn't the easiest thing. And we got to the point where we're maxed out in our
Hmm.
room, and we hit a point where we're like, okay, do we really want to go to two services? And
Mm.
you'd have thought we were gonna split the church. I mean, it was a
Wow.
divorce. It was like talking divorce.
Wow.
And we didn't. They didn't pull the trigger on that. And we kind of plateaued. And I don't say that that's the downfall of everything.
No.
But it was a crossroads that they hit, and they didn't want to go. They didn't want to go there
Right.
for a lot of reasons, probably. But in a small town where more and more people felt included, more kids ministry was a big deal. So like I said, we did buses and pulled. I don't know. Wednesday nights were nuts. I mean, from kindergarten to 8th grade, we'd have 80 kids running around the building.
Wow.
And that wasn't something that I did. We had people that had a burden for it, had a mind for it, had deep pockets to get a bus, and that was just the vibe and the culture that was created. Was we love what we have, we want to share it.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think that there was some really good things that happened there, and we got to the point. In a small town, people just know you. I could walk into the school. I didn't have to have a badge. I didn't have to go through a security guard or whatever. I just walked into the building and walked the halls. And whether it was the middle school or the high school or the elementary, didn't matter. There's a level of trust that you have in a small town if you've been there a while.
Right.
That's the thing that somebody told me a while back that I tried to maintain even here in a bigger setting, bigger town. The main thing is that at small town churches, whether they're big or small town churches, you preach and you pray and you love and you stay.
I love that.
There's some rhythm to that. And we figured out pretty soon after we got there, the more you love people, the more they'll trust you. I didn't come in with some big plan to grow the church. I didn't have a vision for future ministry. We love people. And that kind of currency, especially in a small setting, you can bet that they're going to call you to do their kid's funeral. They're going to call you. And so, I mean, it's that kind of thing where I had opportunities in that little town that I probably will never have here in Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
Because of the relational capital that there wasn't a whole lot of other choices, a whole lot of other churches. And the longer I stayed there, the more people knew us. And the more people trusted us.
You know, one of my mentors early on was a guy named Rick Stedman, and he said all the time, if you love people one at a time, they add up after a while.
Like
I
that.
repeated that to church planners a lot, is that just love the people God puts in front of you, and take care of people and love people. They start adding up, and you start collecting them. So I want to ask you a couple of things. Obviously, I'm part of an organization, that started an organization that's designed to try to get people to start churches and lead churches in these smaller communities. And this is an extreme example. Let me ask you just a couple quick questions, kind of quick answer, kind of rapid fire, just to give people a picture. Like in a town like that, is there a gas station?
Yeah, there was.
There's a gas
There
station.
is.
Are there any like restaurants in a town that size?
There is now.
There is now.
It's at the gas station.
No, I mean, you can get food there, but there's actually a restaurant there now.
Okay.
Cool.
Is there a stoplight?
No.
So it's not even a one stoplight town. Okay.
No.
Are kids bused out to other schools, or they actually have school in that town?
There's a middle school there in town.
A middle school.
Yep. And there's a big long story to that too. But no, kids will be bused to the elementary and the high school, but the middle school kids are either bused in from other county areas, or we just had our kids walk when they
So
were
is
in
it
middle
kind of
school.
like a cooperative, like where kids go to this town for grade school and this town for high school and this place for middle school kind of thing?
Yeah, the school district it covers a geographical area, and so the county seat, Erie, Kansas, has the high school and the middle and the elementary. Galesburg had the middle school.
Okay.
Yeah.
Was there any other churches in town?
There was a Methodist church,
Okay.
and it was, I mean, building wise, just as big as ours, probably.
Sure.
And we did things with them. Through the year, there was probably 3 events that we would partner with them, whether it was a sunrise service on Easter, if it was the town festival. You know, every town has a festival, and so we do
Right.
church in the park, and so there was a park between us and them and their building, and so we would pull out the portable sound system and do church in the park.
Okay.
And we'd invite them to like either Easter egg hunts or things like that. So it was a relationship that we had. I mean, we're neighbors,
Right.
so I got to know their ministers. Now, one of them. So this is a smaller Methodist church that this lady had 3 different preaching points. And so it wasn't just us, it was, you know, it was Erie and it was St. Paul that she had to go around and do all this. But it was something that we were open as a church to do periodic stuff with them.
Okay. So if you were going to talk about like just quality of life, what's it like as a guy, young couple, kids, and was that what was it like to raise a family in such a small community? Was it good? Was it?
We have no regrets raising our kids in that environment. Now, do bigger towns have more opportunities? Probably. Sure. Did we have to drive a half an hour to get to our doctor? Yes. But we didn't. I could send the girls out on their bikes and not worry about them.
Wow.
Right.
They could go to the park, which was, you know, not a lot of stuff there, but it was enough. They could just walk over, spend some time playing around, and I didn't have to worry about where they were at. So, and then in a smaller school, there's probably limited funding, but every one of those teachers, I knew them personally,
Right.
and not all of them went to our church, but the high school principal and the middle school principal went to our church, and so we got all kinds of access to get the kids in our building.
Right.
There were things that we did that you couldn't necessarily pull off in a bigger town with the bigger churches. There's those partnerships that you get because resources are they're just not as much there, and there's more relational capital and trust. So yeah, I don't have any complaints about raising our kids in a small town like that.
It sounds just like, I know there's challenges and you've mentioned
Sure.
all of them, but it sounds like, to me, that sounds like paradise. If I could get my wife to go to a small town like that, I'd be in hog heaven. I'd be like, wow, that'd be amazing.
Yeah.
Well, man, that's
Yeah.
awesome. I appreciate you telling that story. I think there's probably hundreds and thousands of guys slugging it out in small communities that no one's ever heard of, that no one will ever hear about. And they're just being faithful, godly men in these small communities. And I think that a lot of them wouldn't trade it for the world. They'd rather live out on the gravel, Main Street Road town, and minister to some regular, simple people and have a simple life and kind of not be in the rat race. And I think for the right kind of person, that picture you painted probably sounds really appealing. So.
Now, I will say that there's something about wrestling with contentment about that, because, and especially in our age, we're surrounded by all these different people with podcasts and platforms, and now it doesn't matter if you're in a big church, you can have that. But when I was in that realm, I didn't either know about that or care, but I felt isolated. I felt alone sometimes, and so there's strength in one. I had a fellowship of brothers in different churches in that area,
Right.
and we would get together on a regular basis for coffee and conversation. You got to have that.
Mm-hmm.
And then two, I think there's a huge need to in my own heart to be content with obscurity. Like you said, there's this town nobody's ever heard of. This church is not on the map for any reason at all, except that it's kingdom minded and it's reaching people here, and that's fine. But if I would say to some of these young bucks coming out of Bible college, do not treat a small church in a small town like it's a stepping stone for some quote bigger, better place, because you probably heard. I mean, bigger just means harder. I mean, you want your church to be big. You want your life to be hard.
Yeah.
And there's a different kind of hard that goes with that. I mean, not every. So guard your heart against being discontented or using that place for your own advancement. And I say that with some conviction because I felt that. I wrestled with that, and I found that loving those people and allowing them to love me and my family drew me closer to God, and just said, you know what, you're fine where you're at. And if there's something else out there, then God's going to make that clear. And by the time something else came up in my life, we were like, no, we're good. I don't want to go anywhere. We were fine.
Once again, God had to drag you kicking and screaming.
Yep. Yeah. Anywhere I've gone, it's not been my idea.
Well, man, I want to thank you for jumping on today and giving us your time. It's great hearing this. I get so inspired and encouraged when I hear guys tell their stories, and it just reminds me of, you know, how I got started and some of my experiences preaching in small towns and in Bible college in Missouri, and it's not been by design, but a lot of our people on our podcast have been Ozark guys. So shout out to Ozark.
Yeah, right.
Now, if we could get them to sponsor us, that would be good.
Yeah.
They don't give out money. They ask for money.
I know.
Are you an alumni? Do you get the mail? I get the mail.
Yeah.
Let me wrap this up, guys, and we'll get out of here for today. So, hey, thanks for listening, everybody. Be sure to check out our sponsor, 9centprinting.com. If you like what we're doing, please like or subscribe. And if you're interested in Small Town Network, you can find out more about us at smalltownnetwork.com. If you believe in the importance of planting disciple-making churches in smaller communities, we'd love you to consider partnering with us in prayer and financial support. You've been listening to the Small Town Pastor Podcast. Today's episode is brought to you by 9centprinting.com. With over 100 5-star reviews, 9centprinting.com is ready to meet all your printing needs. Are you a church plant or small church with no copy machine? No problem. 9cent Printing has you covered. If you need bulletins, flyers, books, cards, offering envelopes, posters, they do it all. I know the Christian owners of this business personally, and I'm not just a fan, I'm also a customer. Fast, nationwide shipping, affordable, professional, wow printing at wow prices. Check them out at 9centprinting.com.